They say the woods are silent, but sometimes silence hides the most terrifying secrets. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, we dive into chilling tales of unexpected encounters, eerie strangers, and unsettling nights far from home. These are stories where what starts as a simple trip quickly turns into something no one ever planned for. No spoilers here, just raw fear and mystery that will keep you on the edge of your seat. If you enjoy these spine-tingling journeys, don't forget to like the video and share your own creepy experiences in the comments. You can even email your stories directly to nightterrorxinbox@gmail.com. Who knows? Your story might be featured next. Stay close and keep your lights on. He waited in the basement. So I was talking to my friend Brian after work one night, and he told me something that's been stuck in my head ever since. He's not the kind of guy to spook easily. Ex-military, keeps to himself, lives in a quiet part of upstate New York. But the way he told this story, voice low, eyes darting like he expected something to crawl out of the shadows, I knew he wasn't making it up. It happened a few months ago. Brian had just gotten off a late shift at the auto shop, maybe 8:30 p.m., and like most nights, he went straight home to unwind with some online gaming. Since his divorce, the house had been pretty empty. Just him, some second-hand furniture, and a loyal old German shepherd named Rex, who barely moved unless he smelled food or heard thunder. That Monday night was quiet at first. Brian cracked open a beer, sat down in front of his rig, headset on, booted up his game, and jumped into Discord with some buddies. They were in the middle of a match when the weather started acting up. A massive gust of wind slammed against the house, shaking the windows hard enough to rattle the blinds. Brian pulled his headset off halfway, hearing the downpour suddenly erupt outside. Then bam! All the lights in the house flickered off for a second, then popped back on. He barely had time to say, "Did you guys see that lightning?" before his entire setup cut out. Total blackout. His gaming PC, the lights, the Wi-Fi, everything. He sat there for a second, surrounded by darkness. Not even the dim glow of a digital clock, just the low creaking of the house, shifting in the wind. Brian reached for his phone, flipped on the flashlight, and stood up. He figured maybe the breaker tripped, so he went downstairs to grab a battery pack from the basement shelves. He said he didn't even think twice about going down there. It was just storage, boxes of old photos, tools, junk he never unpacked. But here's the part where things start getting weird. While down in the basement, crouched in the corner trying to unplug the battery pack, he heard something, just a faint rustle. Then maybe a breath, not his own. He turned around quickly, expecting to see Rex behind him. But the dog wasn't there. It was just stacks of boxes and dark corners. The storm was howling outside, wind slamming against the siding. He chalked it up to nerves and made his way back up to the living room, plugged in a small emergency lamp, got a little light going. Rex was lying in the hallway, ears perked but not moving. Now here's where it gets worse. Brian, being who he is, didn't like to sleep without power. Something about the stillness made him uneasy, so he sat on the couch, scrolling through YouTube with mobile data, hoping the storm would pass and the lights would kick back on. That's when he heard the basement door creak. He turned his head slowly. The door wasn't just creaking, it was open, wide. He swore he closed it, always did, just a habit. He stood up, heart pounding, and walked toward it. Rex was growling now, low, guttural. Brian flashed his phone light down the basement stairs, but it was pitch black. No movement, No sound. Still something felt off. His instincts were screaming. He gently pushed the door shut. No lock on it. Just a regular old wooden door with a handle. He went back into the living room and sat down again, breathing shallow, phone in hand. Not 2 minutes later, bang. The sound of footsteps, running footsteps, charging up the basement stairs. Then boom! The door slammed hard against something, someone trying to push through. Brian leapt up and threw his shoulder against the door. The thing on the other side hit again, harder this time. Then again, no words, no yelling, just force. Trying to break in from inside his house. He didn't stop to think. He pulled out his phone, shaking, and dialed 911. As soon as he did, the pounding stopped. Everything went silent. He stood there for a full minute, frozen. Rex was barking his head off now, teeth bared and pacing frantically. Then he heard it, slow, deliberate footsteps retreating back down the stairs. That's when Brian did something smart. He didn't wait around. He grabbed his keys, opened the front door, and bolted to his truck. Drove a few blocks away and called the cops again. Waited across the street, watching the house with his headlights off. 3 patrol cars showed up. Officers searched the place, top to bottom. But the house was empty. Basement window shattered, back door unlocked. But here's the part that still gives me chills. When Brian showed them the text he'd received right after the power went out. It was from an unknown number. It said, "Power lines are down in your area. Expect extended outages. Stay inside. Stay safe." The number didn't belong to the power company. It wasn't even close. Turns out it was just a prepaid burner phone. Someone had cut Brian's power from the breaker outside. They wanted him in the dark. They wanted him scared. And they knew his number. Whoever it was had planned this. Maybe even watched him for days, maybe weeks. They weren't just looking to rob a house. They were waiting. But they picked the wrong house that night. Brian left. He didn't go back for 3 days. And when he did, he brought company. He still doesn't know who it was. Cops never found fingerprints. No suspects. No trace. Just a text from the dark. And a door that should have never opened. And now, he never games with the lights off. Ever. We shouldn't have camped there. A friend of mine, Tyler, told me this after we grabbed beers one night, and I still think about it way too often. So my buddy Chris and I, we thought we were ready. We'd done the easy camping before, state parks, marked trails, the kind of places where if anything goes wrong, you're a 5-minute walk from someone in a Patagonia jacket who knows what they're doing. But this time, we wanted something real, like off-the-grid forest silence kind of real. Chris had found this spot online, some old hiking forum that hadn't been updated in years. Just a grainy picture or two, a general map pin, and one guy saying the view was incredible. That was enough for us. It was a 3-hour drive out and a 4-hour hike in. I remember thinking the trail looked off. Like it used to be a trail, but nature had taken it back a long time ago. Branches had swallowed parts of the path, and at one point we had to climb over a fallen tree that looked like it had been down for years. Still, around mid-afternoon, we made it. A small grassy rise in the middle of nowhere. No signs of anyone. Just forest in every direction, and an open view of endless green. Honestly, it was perfect. We set up the tents. Chris took a little longer than me, so I wandered over to the edge of the hill, just soaking in the stillness. That's when I saw them. Just movement, low down in the trees, maybe 100 yards out. Couldn't make out faces or details, just 4 or 5 people. walking, not like they were on a trail, more like they were weaving between the trees with purpose. I called Chris over, but by the time he got there, they were gone, just vanished into the green. We chalked it up to other hikers, weird but not impossible. Night fell. We lit a fire, made some food, joked around. At first, everything felt peaceful. But then we started hearing something. Voices, faint and low, coming from the same direction we saw those people earlier. It didn't sound like talking. It sounded like chanting. Not loud, not fast, just steady. Too steady. We sat in silence, listening. The voices didn't move. They didn't grow louder or fade away. They were just there, until they weren't. No leaves rustling, no footsteps, no goodbyes, just gone. Then came real footsteps, one set, getting closer. Out of the dark, a man stepped into the glow of our fire, mid-30s maybe, red baseball cap, wavy black hair to his shoulders, that grin, way too wide to be normal. "Either of you know where the trail is around here?" he asked, like he'd just gotten lost on. But we both knew he came from where those voices were. It wasn't just weird, it felt like he was testing us. He nodded, smiled again, and walked off down the trail, and we sat there in silence, not saying anything, until his footsteps faded completely. Chris and I looked at each other, and I knew we were both thinking the same thing. He was lying. And not just a "don't want to admit I'm lost" kind of lie. This felt off. We couldn't explain why, but we just knew. We tried to rationalize it. Maybe we were being paranoid. Maybe the woods were messing with our heads. But that heavy feeling in our guts never left. Like something had shifted in the air. Something had noticed us. After about half an hour of debating it, Chris whispered, "Should we just leave?" I nodded. Yeah, we were done. We put out the fire, packed fast. That tension didn't ease up, it just got worse. Like every time I turned my back, I expected someone or something to be right there. And just as I zipped my pack shut, I heard it. Crunch. A single footstep behind me. We spun around, but with the fire out, it was pitch black. My fingers were shaking as I fumbled for the flashlight. I clicked it on, and froze. There he was, that same guy, same red hat, same blank stare. Just standing 10 feet away like he'd been there the whole time. Then, that same wide smile stretched across his face. I turned the light off and yelled, "Run!" We tore down the trail. Behind us, footsteps, multiple sets. Not just chasing behind, but to the sides, keeping pace through the woods. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I knew if I did, I'd stop running, and I don't think I would have ever moved again. Eventually, the footsteps faded. We kept going, didn't say a word, just ran. When we finally burst out onto the road where the car was parked, we jumped in and peeled out without even shutting the doors fully. We didn't stop for gas. We didn't talk, we just drove. To this day, we still don't know who those people were, or what they wanted. We reported it, of course, gave them the GPS location, but no one ever found anything. And Chris, he sold all his camping gear the week after. I haven't been in the woods since. Some places are meant to stay undisturbed. I think we found one of them. The room at the end of Sycamore Inn. So I was talking to my uncle one night, and he said something I'll never forget. You can trust a road trip, but never trust a roadside motel that doesn't expect guests. I laughed it off at the time, but after what happened to me during spring break a few years ago, I don't laugh about that anymore. Back in 2021, I was 24 and taking a long solo drive back home for spring break. I was at an out-of-state college, and flying just didn't fit my budget or my mood. Something about hitting the open road felt freeing. The plan was to take it slow over 2 days. I didn't have a hotel booked, just a general idea of when to stop driving. That first day, I drove nearly 10 hours straight, stopping only for gas and snacks, until I finally decided I'd had enough. I pulled off at this half-forgotten gas station around 8 p.m., middle of nowhere. You know the type. One flickering light, an old rusted Coke machine, and a bored cashier scrolling through her phone behind bulletproof glass. I opened my map and found a hotel nearby, just 10 minutes down a side road behind the station. Sounded good enough. That road, though, it was weird. No streetlights, no traffic, and no cell phone signal. The pavement turned to gravel at one point, and I passed this old-timey town that looked like it had one foot in the 1950s and the other in the grave. Just past it was the hotel, Sycamore Inn. Small, run-down, looked like a forgotten movie set. The parking lot was completely empty. I mean completely. I parked, grabbed my backpack, and went in. The lobby was dimly lit, like they were trying to save on bulbs. No music, no TVs, no chatter, just silence. It almost felt like I was interrupting something by being there. Eventually, this woman came out from the back, maybe in her late 30s, looked startled to see me, like she hadn't expected anyone to show up that night. But she was polite, checked me in, and handed me a brass key for a room at the end of the hall. The hallway had stained carpet and a faint mildew smell. My room was tiny, just a double bed, a scratched-up nightstand, and a little couch that looked like it hadn't been cleaned since the early 2000s. I didn't unpack. I just flopped onto the couch, scrolled through my phone for a while, and passed out. I woke up to someone banging on my door. Not knocking, banging. I jolted up, heart racing, and checked the clock. I flew out of bed and practically tore the door open. But again, nothing. Not even the sound of someone walking away. Just that stale hallway, stretching in both directions. Now I was freaked out. So I went down to the front desk, hoping to catch the woman again. She was there, reading a paperback novel. When I told her someone had been banging on my door, twice, she blinked at me, like I was speaking another language. Then she said, "You're the only guest staying here tonight." I just stared at her. "The only one?" She nodded, completely serious. I managed a tight smile, told her it was probably nothing, and walked back down the hallway. My legs were trembling. I felt like I'd stepped into a story someone else was writing, and I didn't like where it was going. I got back to my room, locked the door, deadbolt, chain, everything. Then I sat in bed, just staring into the dark. I kept thinking about what she said. "You're the only guest." That line kept repeating in my head like a broken record. I decided to grab my phone and distract myself. But the second the screen lit up, I saw something in the corner of the room. A man, standing in the dark, right by the dresser. I dropped the phone. My chest was tight, like my lungs forgot how to breathe. He was just standing there, motionless, like he'd been waiting for me to notice him. His eyes were wide and glassy, and he had this faint grin, like he found me funny. I snapped into motion, ran to the door, and started ripping the locks open. That's when I heard the footsteps, fast, pounding across the room, coming straight at me. I flung the door open and ran. I don't even remember screaming. I don't remember the hallway or the carpet or how I made it to the lobby so fast. But I did. The front desk woman looked up, startled again, but not at me. She was staring past me. He was behind me. I turned. He was almost in the lobby, about to cross over. But then something changed. He stopped, stared at both of us, and turned back. He didn't run to a car, didn't try to hide. He just bolted into the woods behind the motel. The woman called 911. Police arrived maybe 20 minutes later, but there wasn't much they could do. The Sycamore Inn only had 2 working cameras, one in the lobby, one outside, pointed at the front entrance. No footage of the guy inside, but the outdoor camera, it showed me leaving the lobby, and him following me in right behind. The timestamp showed it happened when I was talking to the front desk about the banging. He had slipped into my room while I was gone. They never found him. No ID. I left that night. Didn't bother sleeping. Drove straight home, and ever since then, whenever someone talks about doing a road trip or staying in some off-the-map motel, I don't joke, I don't laugh. I just tell them this. If you think you're alone in your room, you might want to turn on the light, just to be sure.